Alrighty, y'all, we got the age-old question. Yuta versus Hakari. Who you taking in a fight? Who's stronger? But before we get into that, I've got a couple of other viewer questions, and these are going to be manga spoilers. So if you're not caught up through chapter 250, you're probably going to want to skip this one. First up, we've got a quick question from Isabel about this fight between Okkotsu and Sukuna, wondering how Sukuna is able to use Hollow Wicker Basket, considering the part of his brain responsible for domain expansion is out of commission because of Gojo's infinite void. So shouldn't Hollow Wicker Basket, as a barrier technique itself, also be out of commission? And you would think so, right? But this is one of those things that, Gege has never given us an explicit, instruction manual on how all of these things work. So a lot of it is reading between the lines for us, right? So I would agree with you under the presumption that, since domain is out of commission, you would think all of these things would be. But it's not. So I don't know if that's because Hollow Wicker Basket is so archaic. Maybe it's, even though it is a barrier technique, a slightly different part of the brain, which could also, lend credence to why Sukuna is using this as opposed to a simple domain. But yeah, it might just be that only specifically domains are out of commission, not only because of the infinite void, but also because of the multiple uses Sukuna had. That's not to say that Sukuna couldn't have done another domain if we took infinite void out of the picture. He clearly was confident in the fact that he could, but maybe it's that unique combination that has only removed domains from him, but not things like Hollow Wicker Basket. But honestly, your guess is as good as mine. This is one of those things that, I don't know if we'll get any exposition on as to, why he was able to do this. So I think we just have to assume that it's a different part of the brain. Next up, we've got two questions from Lazuli, the first of which is if I think Hakari has off-screened Uraume by now, or if we'll get to see that fight. I think we'll definitely get to see that fight, and I'm actually wondering if we are going to switch to it right now. Like, the next chapter will start with the POV change, because we're kind of left on that cliffhanger-esque moment of Okkotsu casting Cleave. It feels like kind of a prime moment to swap back, just Gege kind of leave us wanting more. But in any case, even if we don't swap back yet, I think we are absolutely swapping back to that fight at some point. Because if you'll recall, we kind of left that fight on a cliffhanger. Uraume was like impressed with how strong Hakari actually was and basically said like, I'm going to take the training wheels off now. So if that fight is resolved off screen, that's going to be pretty disappointing to me. So I do think we'll go back, and I'm honestly worried for Hakari. Things are kind of going too well right now, and I don't think the Sukuna fight is going to end the current Sukuna fight, like versus Okkotsu and Yuji. I don't think that's going to end well either, but yeah, I'm pretty nervous for Hakari right now, actually. But that leads us into the second half of your question that says, now with Gojo perhaps dead, in Cope we trust, who do I think is the strongest in the verse now other than Sukuna? So this takes us back to the premise of this video, Okkotsu versus Hakari. So those are going to be my two main choices here, but I do want to kind of contextualize those two choices because since you said assuming Gojo is dead, I'm also going to assume some other people are dead, mainly being Kenjaku and Higuruma. Now, I'm not saying if those two were confirmed alive that they would be my definite choice or anything, but I'm absolutely throwing those two in the conversation if they are alive. But since we're going to kind of scoot those two and Gojo aside for now, my two choices come down to Okkotsu and Hakari. And this is a big debate within this fandom. These two have been kind of faced off against each other a lot in hypotheticals. And it's tough. It's really tough because Hakari's jackpot is literally insane, right? But Okkotsu is Okkotsu. And so I don't really know how you boil this down. There's a few things we can point to, and one of the most important is Okkotsu himself saying when Hakari is on a roll, he's stronger than me. I don't remember the exact phrasing, but Okkotsu basically gives Hakari his flowers, saying that like when he's on a roll, he's really tough to beat. So that could be Okkotsu being humble to some extent, and I think he is, because he is a very humble young lad. But that statement is still not for nothing, right? So I think if we're really going to boil this down, we have to assume that they are bloodlusted, like they're going into this fight to kill one another, not going in as friends. So like we got to push all the humility and anyone holding back aside. Who wins? I think this really boils down to how this domain clash operates, because we're told Hakari has the fastest, as far as we've seen so far, activation of his domain due to the fact the sure hit effect is non-lethal and instead is all of the rules of the domain, right? So, and also because of that, we know it is really strong in domain tug of wars. So would Hakari's domain dispel Okkotsu's? Like, we haven't actually seen him in a domain tug of war. We're just told it's good at it. So since they both have barrier domains, meaning no one has a barrierless like Sukuna, so there's not going to be like a Gojo Sukuna situation where they both exist at the same time. Could they both exist at the same time because Hakari's is the way it is? Like, could Hakari's domain exist inside of Okkotsu's domain, or would one of them definitely like destroy the other, like we saw with Gojo and Jogo? I think we have to assume it's more likely that it's the latter, meaning one of theirs would win and the other one would be gone. And since we've been explicitly told that Hakari's is good at that, I feel like I would have to give the edge to him. However, I don't know. But I am going to give the edge to him, saying that Hakari's domain would overpower it. So the question really becomes, in my mind, can Okkotsu kill Hakari before he gets a jackpot? Now, obviously, he could get a jackpot on his first domain expansion, but he still has to, like, actually roll the slots, right? And even if he's guaranteed a jackpot on that first one, if he's coming from the probability change mode. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you might want to watch my Hakari domain expansion video, but he can basically guarantee a jackpot on entering a domain based on what he did in the previous domain. So if we even give him the benefit of the doubt that that's the case and he's gonna hit a jackpot on his first go through, could Okkotsu kill him before that happens? Meaning some amount of time has to elapse where Hakari actually spins the slots and gets the jackpot, right? Maybe it's 5 seconds, maybe it's 30 seconds, who knows? Could Okkotsu kill him in that time? And I think he could, but it would be really tough. But if he fully manifests Rika, which he's got 5 minutes of, I think it's possible. However, it's going to be really hard, like I said. So if Hakari hits that jackpot first, he's got 4 minutes and 11 seconds of basically being invincible. Again, even if that happens, Okkotsu has fully manifested Rika for 5 minutes. And during the 4 minutes and 11 seconds, the domain of Hakari will drop. So Okkotsu could open his domain during Hakari's jackpot to help him survive it. So perhaps during that, 49 seconds or whatever, where Hakari's will be off and Okkotsu's still in fully manifested Rika, could he kill him then before Hakari can open his next domain and get that next jackpot? Again, yes, I think it's very possible. So I am yapping so long about this. But the reason I'm doing that is to show that I really think either one of them could theoretically beat the other. But Hakari in his jackpot, is invincible, but is he really going to be strong enough to kill Okkotsu? Okkotsu can do RCT all the time. Y'all, after I finished that sentence, I looked down and I saw that this video was already 8 minutes long and I had to rein it in. But the reason we've been going to absolute yapsville right now is because this is such a high diff fight. I don't think it's a clear and cut answer. But if you're going to make me pick, I am going to go with the Okkotsu, just because he's so versatile. He's got so many tricks in his bag. Hakari, as powerful and literally immortal as he is, really doesn't have too many things he can call upon other than his insane cursed energy supply during those 4 minutes and 11 seconds. So during those small windows that I already described earlier, I think Okkotsu would ultimately find a way to get him. But again, extremely high diff fight, and I could see either winning in a realistic scenario. This morning, before I started working on this video, I made a post on YouTube with a poll asking you guys who you thought was stronger, and Okkotsu was getting the overwhelming number of votes, which I did expect Okkotsu to win, but I honestly didn't expect it to be this skewed. So I would love to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments of not only who you think wins this fight, but also, do you even think it's one of these two is the answer to that question? Which, again, Lazuli's question was, who is the strongest other than Sukuna now that Gojo is gone? I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on this.